I'm Larry Fedoruk, and welcome to the second annual Later That Same Life Holiday Special. Later That Same Life is my weekly podcast. Each week, a topic, discussion, or story from our lives. And on this episode, a story to help you celebrate this special time of year.
Season 7, Chapter 8.
Wonky the Christmas Clown.
It's funny how one little childhood memory can trip an entire saga. Wonky the Christmas Clown was a regular guest on a locally produced after-school kids' TV show called Uncle Wonky's Cabin. Wonky the Clown visited Uncle Wonky every week all year long, usually on a Thursday. But during the month of December, he called himself Wonky the Christmas Clown. In December, he'd wear a red Santa hat over his frizzy orange hair, and he had Christmas ornaments pinned onto his puffy polka dot shirt. The show he guested on, Uncle Wonky's Cabin, was must-see after-school TV when I was a kid. Frankly, most of my friends and I watched it well into our teens, because old habits die hard, I guess. We still enjoyed it as we got older. The only difference being that as we got older, we realized how much the inside of Uncle Wonky's rustic cabin looked like a TV studio. Still, as kids, we'd rush home from school, fire up the old idiot box, which is what our parents called Precious TV, just in time to see the camera zoom in on this little log cabin in the woods. It was a drawing of a cabin, but it would keep zooming up right to the front door, then morph to the inside of the place. There would be Uncle Wonky sitting in his big plaid chair, and he'd say, "Hey kids, welcome to Uncle Wonky's cabin. Glad you could make it." Uncle Wonky wore a cowboy hat, fringed jacket, and he played the guitar. Over the course of the half hour, he would sing a song, tell a story, read some birthdays, and present a cartoon. Some days he'd have a visitor up to the cabin, like, a Boy Scout leader or the man from the hardware store. As I said, once a week, Wonky the Clown also came by. It was always the same. Uncle Wonky would say, "Hey kids, Uncle Wonky has to go to the barn and check on the horses. You be good now." Then they'd go to a commercial, and when they came back, there would just be this empty room, and Wonky the Clown would walk in. He'd say, "Uncle Wonky, where are you? It's your favorite clown come a-callin'." And then he'd look at the camera and act very surprised and say, "Oh, hi, kids. Didn't see you there. Where's Uncle Wonky?" And all the kids would yell, well, I did, "He's in the barn. He's in the barn." Right up to even when I was 15. "Oh, well," said Wonky the Clown, "as long as I'm here." And then he would sing a song or do a magic trick. And sometimes he'd present the cartoon. Then he'd say, "Oh, well, kids, gotta go now." And he'd sing, "My clowny name is Wonky, my clowny horn goes honky. Lots of fun and lots of laughs when I'm falling on my floor." He'd run off and you'd hear this big crash, bang, smash of stuff. Then they'd go to commercial. When they came back, Uncle Wonky would be there. He'd be surveying the mess on the floor and he'd say, "Looks like Wonky the Clown was here. Can't believe I missed him again." This went on week after week after week, and we bought in. He'd have to go check the horses. Here's the clown. Crash, bang, smash. Can't believe I missed him again. Beautiful. As kids, Wonky the Clown's rhyme became our thing. "Hey, Mom, lots of fun and lots of laughs when I'm falling on my Larry, on my floor." "You watch your mouth, young man." "It's okay, Mom. It's from the TV." "Well, okay. Just don't let Father Leslie hear you talking like that on Sunday." As I said, during the month of December, he'd be Wonky the Christmas Clown. He would sing a Christmas carol. He would read something like, "'Twas the night before Christmas." He'd show us how to wrap presents all by ourselves, and so on. Wonky the Christmas Clown we knew was just Wonky the Clown with a Christmas hat. And as we got older, we also caught on that Uncle Wonky and Wonky the Clown were pretty much the same guy, right? I'm pretty sure. Usually it was right around the time when many of us learned greater details of such things as the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy. We'd start to get wise to the old wonky switcheroo. Uncle Wonky looked a lot like Tom Wonkowski. Tom Wonkowski was the weatherman on our local TV station. And he also had a half-hour show on Saturday afternoons called Tom and Friends. Tom and Friends was just one guest, like the town mayor or, some local achiever. There was just two chairs and a coffee table, maybe a plant, and they'd chat. I also watched that show when I was a kid, not because I enjoyed it, but because it came on right after the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner hour. So I just sit there and keep watching because it was on TV. In this case, it was obvious that weatherman Tom Wonkowski and Tom from Tom and Friends were the same guy. He might have even admitted as much on his show several times. Quick aside, in the middle grades, our science teacher, Mr. Hackenbush, was like a big celebrity at our school because he'd been a guest on Tom and Friends like 3 times. Mr. Hackenbush, he'd been on TV. This is actually interesting. Mr. Hackenbush invented a flavored powder that could change water into a delicious fruity beverage. Cherry, grape, orange, and many more. I know what you're saying. Didn't they already have that? Yes, but the difference in Mr. Hackenbush's invention was that his powder, once dissolved with sugar and water, did not change the color of the water at all. It remained perfectly clear. Well, who would want that? Well, okay, try General Foods, who bought the formula from Mr. Hackenbush. See, now you're remembering. General Foods came out with the powder packets of All Clear Kool-Aid. Remember All Clear? Clear with a K? And on the packets, the big Kool-Aid jug was wearing glasses. As kids, we loved it. What are you drinking, Larry? Oh, just water. See? Okay, then. And that meant, even under the watchful eye of your parents, you could just keep chugging Kool-Aid until you were dizzy. This product did quite well for a while, until a mishap at the Kool-Aid factory in Hastings, Nebraska. Apparently, during a low-staffed late-night shift, all of the different all-clear Kool-Aid flavor powders got mixed all into one bin. Now what? Well, a marketing guy suggested that they sell all of that powder in packets called All-Clear Kool-Aid Fruit Punch. All the flavors together tasted pretty good. That worked for a while, multi-fruit flavor in a clear beverage. But something about the chemical reaction of everything mixed together, if you left a pitcher of the all-clear Kool-Aid Fruit Punch in the fridge for more than half an hour, it did something that the single-flavor all-clear Kool-Aids never did. It turned color. It was like a disgusting greenish-brown color. Looked like liquid, well, never mind. Still tasted fine, but more and more people, even kids, surprisingly, got turned off by bringing a glass of this horrible-looking liquid up to their lips. Sales declined quickly, not only on this, but the entire all-clear Kool-Aid line. Eventually, General Foods just abandoned the entire brand. The whole thing lasted about a year and a half. If you go on eBay or Kijiji, empty packets of all-clear Kool-Aid in reasonable condition, they go for like $50-$60. An unopened, unused packet of all-clear? Forget it. It's like $8,000. All-clear Kool-Aid Fruit Punch packet, there was one I saw, $15,000. One packet. Man, the stuff you wished you would have saved from when you were a kid, right? Anyway, that whole thing, invented by my grade school science teacher, Mr. Hackenbush. And yet, he wasn't famous around school because he'd done all that. It was because he'd been on TV. He'd been on Tom and Friends several times talking about his invention. That's the power of local TV. So Tom Wonkowski, weatherman, and Tom from Tom and Friends, same guy. Easy. Uncle Wonky, and Wonky the Clown, same guy, not as easy, but most of us eventually caught on. Now, I can't believe I'm admitting to this, but I was well into my 20s before I caught on that Tom Wonkowski and Uncle Wonky of the Cabin fame were also the same guy. In my defense, that was not all my fault, because when we were kids, somehow the story went around that the Weather Wonkowski and the Cabin Wonky guy were two brothers who both worked at the local TV station. Makes sense, I guess. We believed it as kids, and the story just kind of stuck. And then one day it was verified to me by the source himself. You see, our local TV station was just up the street from the pub where my dad was the bartender. That pub was the TV station's watering hole. Dad knew all the TV guys and gals by their first name, and they all knew Johnny. One Friday night, I'm around 16. I'm coming home not that late, but past my curfew. No problem. I had the sneaking in thing down pat. Side door, open it just slightly before it starts to creak. Squeeze through, right down the stairs to my room in the basement. Don't turn on any lights. No problem. And the next morning, you just lie. Didn't you get home a little late last night, Larry? No, I don't think so. Anyway, I'm walking up the block, and there's my house. All the lights are on, and there's a strange car in the driveway. Well, that's time to change the strategy. No sneaking in. Go right into the living room. They probably have no concept of what time it is. And if they do, you usually don't catch heck in front of company. I walk in the living room, and there is my dad and Tom Wonkowski, weatherman, also host of Tom and Friends, local TV celebrity, having a beer in my living room. Not only do I not get guff, but Dad offers me a beer. I sit down and it's like I'm the guest on Tom and Friends. He's asking me questions, what do you do? Go to school. Favorite subject? Have none. You play sports? No. Do you like music? Yeah, I guess. Great show. We'll be right back. So finally I say, hey, Mr. Wonkowski, must be cool that you work at a TV station and that you work with your own brother. What? He says. Your brother, Uncle Wonky and the Cabin. And by the way, I know that he's also Wonky the Clown and Wonky the Christmas Clown. I say this smugly like I'm so smart. He pauses. Oh yeah, he says. Yeah. No, it's great. Some days we even drive into work together. Really? I'm only a year older than him. Hey, as a matter of fact, did you know our wives are sisters? No. Oh man, he's laying it on thick. The more I think about it, the more I remember my dad snickering and trying to stifle laughter. At the time, I thought he was just drunk. Anyway, eventually I go to bed, and the next day I tell my friends the story, Confirmed. Yeah, they are brothers. Much later in my upper 20s, a bunch of us are at a party, reminiscing about childhood. TV comes up, and of course, Uncle Wonky's Cabin. So I say, hey, did you know that his brother was the weather guy? Remember, also hosted Tom and Friends? Someone says, no, they were all the same guy. I play my trump card. Oh yeah? You know who told me that? Tom Wonkowski himself. In my house. He was friends with my dad. The other guy plays a higher trump card. Tom Wonkowski is my actual uncle, my mom's brother. So, well, he always liked to fool people with that story. Oh, okay. And it all came to me all at once. He was right. I'd been duped. What else had adults lied to me about over the years? I suspected a lot. A few years later, I had moved far away, but I'd heard that our old TV station had a new weatherman, meteorologist Christine Vonnegut. Uncle Wonky's Cabin was also off the air and replaced with Christine's cartoon capers. Christine did not wear a cowboy hat or a fringy jacket. She just read birthdays and presented cartoons. Tom Wonkowski, meanwhile, successfully ran for mayor of Saskatoon. He had slogans like "Weather the Storms" with Mayor Tom, and "Mayor Tom sees brighter days ahead." He won by a landslide. He was a local celebrity. Plus, you could still hire Wonky the Clown for your kid's birthday. And every December, Wonky the Christmas Clown would still make several appearances at the Children's Hospital. Hey, who wouldn't vote for that guy? Tom Wonkowski, you can look this up, holds the record for the shortest run as mayor of Saskatoon. 113 days. Only a few weeks into the job, a few $1,000s just disappears from city coffers. Around the same time, Tom was witnessed at a local dealership buying a brand new Ford Fairlane for cash. He was accused and basically convicted with very little other evidence. He defended himself vigorously, but to no avail, and was quickly impeached. The only mayor ever to be so. After the scandal, he certainly couldn't go back to TV, and even his side hustle clown business quickly dried up. It's important to note that about a month after he left office, a whole new investigation, inspired by a local journalist who had grown up watching Uncle Wonky's Cabin, cleared Tom Wonkowski completely on all charges. They also found the real culprit behind the missing money. Word of that went around, but, it was just too little too late. The damage was done. A quirky little side note, my cousin Randall ended up buying that Fairlane recently for $300. Still runs good. They just don't make them like that anymore, do they? Tom Wonkowski, in true clown spirit, took it all with a big smile. He may have fallen down on his floor, but he got right back up. This was helped by a large amount of cash from a wrongful arrest and wrongful impeachment lawsuit. Tom Wonkowski turned his talent and energies to public service. He founded the Saskatoon Historical Interest Trust, Canadians for a Unified Northern Territory, the Diefenbaker Institute of Conservative Knowledge. Perhaps it was the acronyms, but none of those organizations really grabbed a foothold. So Tom got involved in wider prairie politics. In Manitoba, he helped write the Federal Assiniboine River Treaty. And in Edmonton, he put together the Alberta National Urban System. Oddly, these two never really took off. Undaunted, over the next coming years, he dabbled in the Federal Energy Commission Essential Service, Northern Inuit Police Protection Law Enforcement, and the Prince Edward New Information Society. On September 7th, 2022, just before lunch, Queen Elizabeth II signed and posted a letter to Tom Wonkowski, congratulating him on his 100th birthday. The next day, the Queen had passed. Her last official act as monarch was that letter. News of this reached the Saskatoon press, and many of them gathered in Tom Wonkowski's room at the Canadian Retirees Adult Premises. It was there and then that Tom made this shocking announcement. He was not, in fact, 100 years old, but 110. You see, back in the day, he felt he would be considered too old to be a TV weatherman and a kids' show host, never mind a clown. So he lied about his age by 10 years. As a youthful-looking man, he got away with it. So then he was kind of forced to lie about his age ever since. Well, that's surprising for sure, but I guess nothing too scandalous. He spent his life saying he was younger than he was. So it's not like he collected any pension funds before he should have. If anything, people probably owe him money. Well, that was weird, but then a reporter in the crowd said that he'd done some research. And in fact, hospital records showed that Thomas Lawrence Abner Wonkowski was not born in 1912, as Tom thought, but in 1910. There was a mistake made in the transferring from the hospital certificate to the birth certificate. This meant that Tom was 112. He had just aged 12 years in under 10 minutes. As a result, however, Tom was now the oldest living person in the entire Commonwealth, and he would be getting a letter from King Charles III. The remainder of the afternoon was passed with servings of cake and Kool-Aid. Fun was had by all, and that is according to a Saskatoon Star-Phoenix online article. Tom Wonkowski continues to be active in his building, goes to bingo twice a week, and on Saturdays appears in the lounge as Wonky the Clown. And this December, as always, Wonky the Christmas Clown. His clowny name's still Wonky, his Christmas horn goes honky. Lots of fun and lots of laughs, but no falling on his floor. You don't want to break a hip. Amazing tale, isn't it? All from one little memory of watching TV as a kid. From me to you, merry everything and happy always.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.